In this video, I want to go ahead and show you how to use the hypothesis testing dashboard to answer one sample hypothesis testing questions. So this is still just from the guide. This is the Jordan's doing the research for the hospital system that has adopted a new form of hip replacement. She's been tasked to see if patients undergoing this new form of hip replacement have a faster recovery time than patients undergoing a standard hip replacement. She knows from many years of records that the average amount of time to recovery for a standard hip replacement is 40.47 days. Jordan then randomly selects patients at her hospitals undergoing this new surgery and measures their respective time to recovery. She wishes to conduct her research at the significance level of 0.06. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to grab our data and I'm just going to copy it. Now I showed you in another video of how you can do this manually, but we're going to use this Excel toolbox. So first things first, I'm going to go down, make sure that I'm in one sample means, and then up here it says that we can paste in our raw data. I'm just going to do a two-finger click, and I'm going to do like a paste special, and I'm just going to click on text and click OK, and it pastes it all down here. And notice how it calculates out the raw descriptive statistics for me, my sample mean, my sample standard deviation, and my sample size. All I'm going to do with this is I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it down here so that the hypothesis testing can actually do it. And I'm just going to paste special as numbers or as values. And so I've got those in there. Okay, so the next thing to do is I need to set up my null and alternative hypothesis. So the null hypothesis is, say, I think that the true mean is equal to this baseline value, or this 40.47. And we think that this new form of hip replacement has a fast recovery time, or that it's going to be less than, and we're going to test this at the 0.06 level of significance. Okay, so when we go down, we can still look to see like the type of data that we're dealing with is numerical because we're dealing with number of days. The distribution that we're going to be using is a t-distribution because we only know the sample standard deviation, not the population standard deviation. The equation that we choose, and you can look this up in some of the flow charts that we have, it's the t with the degrees of freedom. It's x bar minus the hypothesized mean divided by the standard error, which is just the original standard deviation divided by the square root of n. The population of interest here is the hip patients in Jordan's hospital system, and we're interested in the true mean recovery time. And our sample size is sufficiently large because it is at least 30, so we are at this 45. So yes, we are large enough. So next thing we need to establish our null and alternative, and it's mu, because we're dealing with means, equals this 40.47, and mu is less than 40.47 for our alternative. Okay, identify the alpha is 0.06, and then we need to collect our data and look at what our means are. So our means here is this 38.0222. Notice it's right there. Now the question might be, it's like, how did we actually calculate this? Well, if you go and click up here, notice how it did the average of the data that we collected. That's how you get that. And for the standard deviation, the standard deviation here is stdev.s of that data. Okay, great. Sample size, n is 45. Sample standard deviation, it was calculated, we just put it in here. Now it asks for the standard error. So notice in the descriptive statistics, one thing that'll calculate for you is the standard error. And if you double click on it, it's just the sample standard deviation divided by the square root of n, which gives us our standard error. Next, as we're going down, it says determine the test statistic and the p-value. So if we go down here, our test statistic, if we double click on it, we can see the calculation does x bar minus mu divided by the standard error, and that gives us our test statistic of negative 2.1. And here, when it says t in that parentheses, it's looking for the degrees of freedom, and that's where it is, this 44. The p-value, if we double click on it, we can see that it's a t.dist. It's kind of like muddy in here. If you want to see the equations easily, you can go to, let me open up the flowchart really quick so that you can just see it. I should have had this open. But if we go to page, I think it's 4. Yeah, we got the one sample hypothesis testing, and we can see that we can calculate these p-values, whether it's two-tailed, one-tailed, less than, or one-tailed greater than. Though these are the equations that you would type in. Type in that t-score that we calculated, the degrees of freedom, and true. If we're doing a less than, or if we're doing a greater than, you'd use this one. Okay. That's if you're doing that manually, but I'm not showing it to you manually right now. The confidence interval, like you can actually calculate it by hand, or you can go over here and see it's like, hey, it's calculated for us as well. The confidence interval from negative infinity to 39.86. Our decision here is going to be reject the null because our p-value is less than our alpha. And so our conclusion is we've collected sufficient evidence, here's our evidence that we have, to reject the claim that the true mean recovery time is equal to 40.7 days, and instead claim that it's less than that. And we are 94% confident that the true mean time for recovery days is somewhere between that negative and that 34 so it's like less than 39.87 days. So it looks like a few days less than the standard recovery time. Or maybe just like 1 day. Looks like maybe like 3/4 of a day, something like that. Anyhow, so that's how you go through and how you use the hypothesis testing dashboard to answer this question. And you can also do this for one sample for proportions as well. And you can do that with raw data as well. And that is in some other videos as well. So anyhow, best of luck to you and hope that helps you out.